And what we're going to go through right now is just that mapping exercise that Claudia was just sort of explaining to us. We'd love if you could use the chat function to introduce yourself so everybody knows kind of who's in the room.
Actually, since we only have 3 participants, do we just want to quickly have folks introduce themselves?
Yes, that is a great point. I didn't even see how many we had. So let's do that. So let's see. So I have Amy, myself, and Mary are all with WRT. So we will, start off just so you know who we are. We're each, helping out on the project in one way or another. So if we can then hear from Christian. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Christian, resident of Newark. I also am a community advocate and urban farmer and youth mentor.
Great.
Great. And Gary, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? You'll have to unmute yourself, I believe. There you go. Go ahead, Gary.
Oh, it sounds like his audio might not be working. Stacy, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm working on the project as well. I was supposed to be one of the facilitators.
Oh, okay then. All right, well, welcome. We have an extra amount of facilitation.
Yeah. So feel free to jump in, Stacy. Yeah. All right, so with that, great to have you all here. Thank you for joining and taking the time. We know that there's many demands on people's time right now, so we really appreciate it. So we're going to start with the positives. So places that you like and that are valuable to you. So this would be things like businesses, schools, recreation centers, parks, other community assets. So it's really wide open. So these are really to get a feel for what things you think are positive and valuable in the community.
Ironbound Community Center, the rec center, the Down Bottom Farms.
Ooh, moving quickly, hold on.
Yeah, apologies. Normally in person, we're a little speedier at taking notes, but we'll be a little bit slower than normal. So I got Ironbound Community Center there, Christian. And then the second was, is that the rec center as well? Is the part of the center?
Yeah, the Ironbound Stadium or rec center has the community pool there. Then you have Down Bottom Farms. It's an urban farm. We have Hawkins Street School in that area. It's somewhat a positive. The building could use some working on, but it's the only school we have in that area for my community. We have Riverfront Park, although the river is really dirty. That could use some helping. And then we have Riverfront Park High School, Eastside High School. Oh, we have along with the Ironbound Rec Center, there's a stadium, a renovated stadium in the back that's now new to the community, and it's a positive.
Does the stadium have a name? Sorry.
It's just the Ironbound Stadium. I think it's for Eastside High School, but I think it's just the Ironbound Stadium. I don't know.
Okay.
It's on St. Charles Street. What else? I don't think anything else. Wish we had more trees.
That's a great point. Yeah, and we'll jump into some of the other places or areas that you don't like, and places that you think need improvement. So we'll jump into that as well. So don't feel like we'll force you to only dwell on the positive and not think through any of the improvements. So that's a great start. You clearly know the community really well, and you listed a lot of really important assets. Would you, I imagine Mary and I are still, getting to know where everything is. So if you could, for the stadium and rec center, if you could just give Mary a little bit of guidance on where those are in the community, and we'll just kind of,
Yeah, and I can look those up after. If we don't want to kind of, I know it's a little hard for you to maybe point that out on the map.
Yeah. Yes, this is true. Okay, well, I think that's a great start. Is there anything, Gary, that you want to add to that? And I see that we also have Kristen, I think, is also a newly joined to the meeting. So Kristen, if you want to introduce yourself, please go ahead.
Sure. Hey, everyone. I'm Kristen Figueroa. I'm actually a member of the steering committee. I'm one of the stakeholder agencies that's been asked to participate in the redevelopment project.
Great. Great to have you. Thanks for joining. So Gary,
is everyone here from Newark, from part of the team, the redevelopment team, or?
So at the moment, it's you and Gary are the community members that are contributing, and then everybody else who's on the call has a role in one way or another with the redevelopment planning process.
Okay.
So unfortunately, you're a little outnumbered, so we'll be asking you more questions than we would if there were more people to respond. So our apologies.
No, it's okay. You said you guys don't live in Newark or not in Newark, or?
Correct. So
Okay.
Amy, Mary, and myself, we're all part of WRT. So we're Philadelphia based.
Cool.
I'd imagine that Stacy and Kristen may be more local.
Okay. Cool.
Yes, I live in Newark. I live in the West Ward.
Okay.
Great.
Cool.
Great.
Thank you.
Any more sort of more positive comments? We know we talked a little about the neighborhood. Is there anything, that you like about the study area in particular?
Let's see.
If not, we can move to the next one.
No.
All right.
Not really.
All right.
It just doesn't benefit
Yeah.
as much. So.
All right. What about
Yes.
the next one? Moved over.
So this is places that you don't like, places where health, mobility, and sustainability are compromised, and places where safety is a major concern. So this, I'd imagine, might get us a little bit more into our study area itself. Anything that jumps to mind? I know you'd mentioned trees, Christian.
Yeah, we definitely need more trees. We the whole Doremus corridor is just like so contaminated. There isn't a lot of restrictions on or a lot of policies in place that kind of govern the folks that are the industries that are already there. I guess we need better code enforcement there.
Is that
It's
something
just
that you notice particularly along Doremus, or is it more kind of universal to the whole study area?
Yeah, the whole study area, and it's because of a lot of the stuff that's happening on Doremus Avenue itself. Some of the facilities, their odors kind of seep into the communities or the neighborhoods nearby. A lot of bad odors.
Are there any places in particular where you feel like there's a concentration of the bad odors? Some of this is you can measure it when you're there, but it also, obviously, your experience, you might have some places that are particular problem areas.
Yeah, I mean, if you all in East Ironbound area, East Ferry area, because you have East Ferry there. We call it East Ironbound, but you guys have it listed as East Ferry.
Got it.
Where my cursor is.
Yeah, so totally in that area. So especially in the summertime, it's hot. It just smells all in that area. But it's a lot because of the facilities that are along the Remus Avenue. You have the Passaic sewage facility there. It's open sewage facility. When there's technology out there where they can close their sewage facilities, their open pits or whatever. Then you have the Darling International, which burn carcasses. I mean, their odors, it just smells. They emit this bad, nasty smell. And no matter how many times we report it, and they're fine. It's just I don't know, they're not fixing their situation, and so it just makes the neighborhood really smelly and nasty. But also we don't have a lot of trees, all around the community, and it gets really hot. If you do study, you can see, like, look at like the um, hot index maps. You can see it gets really hot in our area because we don't have a lot of coverage, a lot of grass, or a lot of trees. So we also don't have a lot of parks. I work in an urban farm, and we unfortunately have to grow our food on raised beds because our soil is contaminated. So our rivers, we used to be able to fish out of our rivers, and now we can't because it's contaminated. So there's a lot of unfortunate injustices in my community.
Absolutely. That's something that's very, I think you heard from the earlier in the meeting, but it's certainly something that's sort of front and center in this plan, and as they've mentioned, something that's gone unaddressed far too long. So
yeah, and also the truck routes, because I know sometimes, like, I know my nephew, he works in the ports, right? And so he tells me a lot of the times that he's sitting there at the port for 2-3 hours because they're just stuck. And like he's not getting paid fully for sitting at the port, and so I know traffic there is crazy, but because of that, sometimes you get those truckers who are coming through the community just to get through the shortcut to get to the port because they want to go home early to their families too. So I get it, but at the same time, these trucks are polluting our community, and they're messing up our roads. And a lot of times it's dangerous. Like one of my community members, she called me frantic one time because she's putting her child in a car seat, and this truck who was coming down a route that wasn't a truck route took her door and almost took her. And thankfully she jumped in and she was able to avoid that. But that's something that you have to worry about.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
Do you recall what street that was?
I want to say it was Hawkins Street.
Hawkins Street.
Yeah, and there's a school there too. So I know sometimes during the daytimes you'll get some trucks that'll cut through there. And again, they're just trying to get to the port to get out on time. So
absolutely.
And all through St. Charles Street, where our urban farm is, St. Charles and corner St. Charles Street and Ferry Street. You get a lot of truck traffic there and accidents there. I have to move my car sometimes inside of the farm just because you get a lot of trucks there, and it's not a truck route, but they're almost hitting my car. But definitely to fix that.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there a lot of cars that do get damaged that are like the street parking in the area from truck traffic?
Yeah, that I know I tried to tell one of my community members to come on, because I know her thing. I don't know if it's, if there's any study on it, but her house is on the corner lot, and there's a lot of truck route. And so I know, like, she had issues with her foundation of her house. And so I'm like, okay, is that a result of, like, the constant, like, traffic of
vibration?
Yeah, the vibration. So, like, that could be an issue. And I know, like, I know in California, right, they have the technology for the newer trucks. But, like, I know that, some of these truck drivers, they can't afford the new technology. So, like, it would be nice that if we go with the newer technology, that they also, like, provide help for these, owner operators, to be able to, like, afford those new modifications for better emissions. Yeah,
because it's a more complicated issue than just making the regulation. There's a lot more nuances to getting it to actually get implemented. So I think that's something that we can definitely get be attentive to about what would it actually be required to get those emissions in check, and to not to respect and acknowledge the the work that independent owner operators are doing, with their truck is a big part of their business, their asset. So can certainly look at that. So I think in the interest of time, maybe we can, since we're already kind of starting to talk about this, maybe we can move into improvements. So this is not necessarily thinking through everything about the specific solution, but it's more so to say, are there some places where you really feel like, that improvement should be focused? This is, some of the things you've already mentioned because of safety, truck idling, aesthetics, environmental reasons, stormwater overflow.
Yes, definitely. I forgot to say, mention the flooding. But I know that the city is working on a new CSO plan with CSO. All these acronyms.
It's combined sewer overflow. So
there
that's
you go.
when you have the sewage and the rainwater mixing and overflowing.
Yep. Yeah. So I know they're planning on something new with that. Hopefully that takes an effect soon. But I know that's something that we need to look at, especially like in the East Ferry area, East Ironbound area, is the flooding, and also flooding that happens in Doremus, like on Doremus. When Sandy hit, I remember hearing that like it flooded, and like I felt so bad like for the prisoners, like they were stuck there, in the flood. Like I don't know if there's like an evacuation route, like a proper evacuation route, like even for those folks that are like on, in prison. Like they're only there for 2 years, but at the end of the day, they're still human. Like they
Absolutely.
deserve to be treated humanely. But yeah, like I don't know if there's an actual evacuation plan. Is there there's like an energy plant there? Is there an actual like emergency evacuation plan for like if there's an energy situation that happens? Like I don't even know if that exists. I've been looking for one, and I don't even know if it exists.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, honestly, I don't know myself, but it's definitely something that we can look into. And certainly given, given that, Sandy obviously had a massive impact on the whole region, there's, that's one example of an emergency scenario and the way that it impacted people. But obviously, as you mentioned, there are many other emergency scenarios that should be planned for. So
Definitely.
It's a great point.
I know, like we definitely need more parks and more trees. I know, like you said, that parks, trees. I don't know if there's a way that we can. I know there's a lawsuit for like the Passaic River around the park, where we're trying to figure out like who's gonna pay what to clean it. But I don't know if that can be part of the redevelopment. I don't know, but we definitely would love to have better, cleaner river as we walk along the riverbank. To be able to not smell that fishy, kind of funky smell that you smell when we walk through there. So, let's see.
My recollection is that is a super fun site, which means that it's qualified for federal programs to help remediate. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen right away, but it does mean that it's been recognized, so it is eligible for that kind of support from the government.
Yeah. What else?
Like
I'm trying to think about
odor is the main thing for the waterway, or are there other uses that that improvement would help with? So like are you imagining that it's mostly for the quality of life when you're walking along the riverfront to be able to enjoy that experience, or is it also a priority for things like fishing and other things to resume?
It would be nice if that can ever happen, if we can resume to fishing.
Yeah, I think it's probably be a long time from now, given how much contamination.
Are there folks who are fishing there now, like subsistence fishers that are doing it despite the pollution? Do you know?
I think one of my kids saw somebody and told them, no, don't eat it, don't eat that, like throw it away. I think there's posted signs, but
Yeah, there are a lot of people. I mean, we find in other communities that have pollution in their riverways that you know, people still fish there because it's one of the ways that they're able to, you know,
Sustain.
affordably sustain
Mhm.
their lives basically
Yeah,
off of fishing the land.
yeah. That's another thing, like access to better like food quality. I don't know if that's part of redevelopment, but like we really don't have access to like good groceries or like affordable groceries. Like, you know, we do have the urban farm, and you know, we help and we collaborate with other urban farms in Newark, in and around Newark, to provide a farmers market where we can accept like you know, supplemental payments,
BT.
such as, yeah, so like food stamps and like senior vouchers, WIC, stuff like that. But I mean, if we have, you know, more access to lots, you know, that are empty, you know, we can convert those into like, you know, barn, little gardens, community gardens. It would be nice. The roadways, of course, they're like definitely narrow, but that's given with the area. What else? I know someone mentioned. I was trying to gather everything that everybody sent to me that I can provide. No space for
I mean, that's
parking.
there's also just in case there is something that you know, you remember after. My understanding is there is a version of this same exercise that's available on the website. So that's something, if people are coming to you with ideas, that's a great place to direct them.
Okay, cool beans.
Is there any interest from the community, you know, for the ability, you know, if some of this does get cleaned up in the future, to access any of the waterfront near the study area? Or is that something that
Yes.
everyone is really comfortable, you know, kind of being more of an industrial area where there's not as much pedestrian involvement or interaction?
I don't think that there's any access besides if East Ferry,
Mm-hmm.
where East Ferry ends. I don't think there's any access anywhere else to get to the river. But where the park ends, that's the end. I don't
Right.
know if anyone else. I don't know if we if there were access. I'm sure people would love to like, you know, have somewhere else to take a breath and just, you know, unwind from the everyday life. We always are looking for community space, right? Because living in the city, you don't have much access. We're living here in this area, you don't have much access. So yeah, expanding on community space is something that I know that the community advocates for. But we definitely have like an East Ironbound plan that Ironbound community develop with the community, with the help of the community. It'd be nice if y'all can like take a look at that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely some good input from community members, but I'll definitely redirect them over to your website as well.
Yeah, so this actually makes me think, just that the train of thought that you were just sharing, Christian, about just sort of community spaces, and especially in the East Ferry area where there is more of that direct contact between the industrial uses and the residential areas. Are there any, and Mary, I'm kind of jumping us into the next question a little bit, but it's a bit of a crossover. Are there any job opportunities and industries that you'd like to see come to the industrial district? And this is, you can think of it a little bit, you know, also in terms of what you were just sharing, Christian, about wanting to have those community spaces. There's some types of industries that may be a better neighbor to those types of pieces,
Right.
that maybe could be focused or recruited to the East Ferry part of the industrial district specifically, so that that part that's really close by is more compatible with what, you know, is the neighborhood adjacent to it. So are there any kind of you know, jobs or industries that you'd particularly like to see in that East Ferry part of the neighborhood?
Yeah, definitely opportunities for like small businesses. You have so many talented people in our community. For like those opportunities for them to like have their small businesses, or you know, or spaces for those small businesses.
Mm-hmm. What types of businesses are sort of common or things that people want to start up?
It was one group of ladies, they wanted to create their own tortilla,
Mm-hmm.
which was kind of
I
cool.
go for that.
Yeah. So it was that was really cool, and a lot of them knit, just different spaces where they can say, oh, this is what we're selling, and
More like flexible maker space.
Yeah, things of that nature. I know as far as others, let me see other businesses that we can probably, anything that would give the people of Newark the training to grow, right? Sometimes the only jobs that we have is these warehouse jobs that are, you're there 90 days and then, that's it, because it just takes so much out of you. But, can we have more, office type jobs, or, something or anything else that's going to help develop, the community to, everybody's not up for college. So
Yeah,
can we
it
have
certainly
some
doesn't
type
have
of,
the same return on investment that it used to. So it's
yeah,
good to have multiple options available.
right.
So are there any, it sounds like just from the businesses that you're mentioning, maybe not ironically, but it's a good thing that those are actually technically considered industrial businesses, but light industrial businesses, right? So it's making things is sort of the basic definition of industry, right? So I think that's a great sort of thing to bring up as, how can we take advantage of the benefits of an industrial district, but do it in a way that's more compatible with, or is sort of, supporting the community a little bit more and creating that crossover.
Or even transitions better, right? So that the places where the district interacts with the community more, that's something where you can think of a gradation of uses.
Absolutely.
We just got the alert that we have about 4 minutes left. So I just want to give you a heads up, Zoe.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. So we'll be kind of wrapping up. And I think given that we're kind of overall running a little bit late with our itinerary for the day, there will be a report out that will probably be handled just by the other sort of group, and we may contribute a little bit to it, but just to sort of prepare for that in the event that we do have a report out. Are there any kind of, we know there's a lot of issues, a lot of ground to cover, but is there something that you really like to sort of come through as sort of the big picture thing that you'd like to, have change, if there was kind of one thing that you'd like to focus in on?
Just make sure that the communities who are being mostly affected, that they're part of and I appreciate these community meetings, but there's plenty of other multiple people with who speak different languages, who I know would have definitely more to say about this, but just to make sure that we're still at the forefront of the decision making. I definitely want to make sure that is explained, and that to make sure that it's the environment is safe for everyone at the end of the day, because we're tired of living in the type of environment that we're in. We're tired of smelling the bad smells, and and breathing the bad air and the bad pollution. We need better energy, better technology in our community. I mean, it's out there. They don't want to spend it because it's not being enforced. So.
Yeah, and I think that's a great thing this is was kind of brought up at the beginning. This is a great moment to start pushing that, because Newark has so much leverage because it's such a desirable industrial location that they don't have to accept the same sort of standards that have been prevalent up until this point. So I'll definitely carry that message back to the team, and I know that that's something that they're thinking of, front and center, and we'll make sure that it's something that's carried through.
Thank you.
We're probably, about to get, lassoed back into the other meeting, but we can kind of keep doing this until that happens.
Oh, there we go. We just got our
there we
right
are.
on time.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you so, so much. And we'll be heading back. I guess actually Christian's already been pulled in.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
They're very limited. Normally, if you want to get around down in Doremus, you have to take multiple buses, which is kind of unfair to workers.
Yeah. So there's limited closed access. So is everyone back in the main room?
Yeah, I was just gonna let you know people will be trickulating back in.
Okay.
Limited public transportation.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there any talk about it being connected, and maybe I missed it, some way to the airport, or no?
What
I'm
do you
going
mean
to
connect?
Well, for multiple things, I guess.
We're all back now.
I would imagine this project is somehow linked to the Port Authority's 2050 project,
I see.
Yeah.
because it looks like they're heading into the Newark direction.
Right. Okay. That would make
And
sense.
there is a presentation tomorrow by the Port Authority at 10 a.m.
Did someone put that in the chat? Or
Let me see if I can find the link they sent me.
Yeah, that'd be great. Appreciate that.
I do want to mention that in this group, we do have Kristen Figaro, who is a representative from the Port Authority.
Oh, we do have now everyone back in here in the main room. So welcome back. I want to make sure right now, does everyone can see my screen, which is with the board. Zoe, I'm going to ask you to reply or say yes or no.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. So since we, Amy, how many groups do we have?
We had 7 groups.
7 groups. So I'm not going to go over the one that we have in here because if people were watching at home, they could see our conversation. But then we actually use only one map. And then the stickies are, the blue ones are ideas and opportunities. The pink stickies were things that we don't like. And then things that we like, I just want to say Iron Bar has great restaurants and good walking environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing. And then because Amy, I don't know who the groups are. You need to call up at least, can you call up 2 or 3 groups?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, let's start with Zoe and Mary's group.
All right. One of you can share your screen.
Great, thank you. And yeah, Mary, I was going to say you've got the record, so I will report out really briefly. We did have, for the most part, people who are involved in the redevelopment planning process as part of the team. So we did have one community member that did a lot of the heavy lifting for us, so we really appreciate that. So starting with places that they like and are valuable, a lot of these were focused in the Ironbound neighborhood itself. There weren't any that were within our study area, and many of them were sort of the community assets like schools, the community recreation center, community center, and the park assets. Go to the next one. In terms of areas that they don't like or that need improvement, there's a lot to cover. Very much of our conversation centered around the environmental impact, around the smells, heat island effect, so areas that were really hot, really uncomfortable to be in, and also around the contamination of the waterways, including waterways that some people are still fishing. So food quality and food access came up as well as part of that conversation. And in particular, our conversation zeroed in on the East Ferry portion of the study area, also known as East Ironbound to some folks, as an area where that crossover between residential and industrial uses is particularly sort of unfriendly and particularly a problem for the community. Go to the next one. Oh, we also, I should mention, sorry, a lot of conversation about the truck traffic as well, and the danger that's posed by the truck traffic, as well as the damage to property and cars that's caused by the truck traffic.
Wow, I like how many yellows right here. Good.
So there's some that sort of echoed some of our earlier conversation around what improvements are needed. They kind of are the mirror image of some of the problems or the areas that are not liked. So improving the smell was a really important piece, as well as food access. There's also we had a good conversation about in East Ferry, the potential to have sort of light industrial uses that help to transition from the residential to the heavier industrial area, and might provide support to community members who are interested in entrepreneurship, especially in things like food production and making things. So things that are technically industrial uses, but are more friendly and compatible with residential uses nearby. And that overall, there is a need to balance the sort of job training and the sort of outcomes for people who are working in the industrial sector. So for instance, truck drivers who are owner operators, with the needs of the residents. So really there's a nice, even-handed understanding of how those two things relate to one another, and that any solution we come up with needs to really be pragmatic in supporting the industrial workers as well as the residents, so that because there's sort of a relationship between those two communities, or in some cases that those two communities are in fact the same community. So I thought that was a really great nuance to be bringing up about the relationship between industrial workers and residents, and how to implement some of these ideas. I don't know, Mary or anybody else in our group want to fill in some things that I may have missed.
Yeah, I think just the final takeaway that our lovely participant who was with us wanted to make sure we kind of take away from it is just to make sure that we're really reaching out to the communities that are most impacted by these environmental issues and this contamination, and making sure that they're really at the forefront of the decision making for this process. So yeah, that was it.
Perfect. Thank you, ladies, and your group members, which I don't know what they are. I hope that you guys recorded your session.
We did.
Muy bien. Thank you. Okay, so
let's hear from Breakout Group 2 with Tim Jensen.
Tim, you're up. You're muted. And then you need to share your screen.
Yes, 1 second.
No worries.
Okay, great. Everyone can see. So we, this is my first time doing one of these. I was telling them, so I wish I was a little bit quicker with getting some of these points on the board, but they really are kind of emblematic of the last group's points as well, and definitely overlap in a lot of different categories. The first being the Riverfront Park in Ironbound is a very strong community asset. Just in terms of connectivity to downtown, to Penn Station, and also just to other areas of the Ironbound and points east. So the walkway along the Passaic River, has also improved, substantially, albeit sometimes a little bit slower than we'd like, but that is another major attribute as well. And also just the resiliency of the Ironbound throughout the just in terms of just having good reputation by local council, and also just the the ability and strong business community that was able to kind of rebound a lot quicker and a lot more effectively than maybe some other areas of the city, unfortunately. But yeah, and also just as we all know, outdoor dining options, and any kind of culinary choices are abundant in the neighborhood as well, which is pretty unique for the city. And one second, let me just read the last one here. And also just the existing parks, like Independence Park right here in the center, and also the Riverbank Park as well, which is right by Jackson Street there, are major attributes and are good models for further kind of open space and park development in the area. So moving forward, okay. So this one, we had a few more points. Basically, as the last group identified, spillover from industrial areas, whether it be odors, noise, pollution, traffic, you name it, is a major concern, especially in the the periphery area in the East Ironbound that's closer to these areas. Also, coastal resiliency is a serious concern as well, just in terms of not only from an environmental standpoint and flooding, but also just in terms of the economic impacts that would basically just be brought forth by any kind of catastrophic storm such as Sandy. Again, with sea level rise, with climate change, that does increasingly present a larger threat to the area, and just also the prison population. The inmates and staff are disproportionately affected by a lot of this industrial waste, basically because the location of the prison is smack dab in the middle of a heavy industrial zone. With trash incinerators, with just basically kind of the most undesired uses just concentrated in one area. One of them being I guess, unfortunately, the prison. So that is an issue of concern in terms of environmental justice. And I'm just trying to think if I missed anything here. And also just as the other group mentioned too, small businesses are kind of underrepresented and underutilized in the area. A lot of the industrial and commercial use in the area is really just controlled by pretty major conglomerates. So moving to the next slide. This one I was kind of testing out my skills with the pen, as you can see, not very well. So we identified some major kind of truck interchanges here that can be kind of problematic in terms of the amount of traffic they generate and just the kind of bottlenecks and congestions that may arise. Mainly centered around Route 1 and 9, and also just I-95 as well. And also just any interchange really where, any of these major roadways meet some of the local arteries, such as Wilson Avenue, basically Doremus Avenue, Delancey Street, and Rutherford Street, this area kind of around here. The rail lines, I mean, our group really didn't see them quite as problematic as some of the trucking issues, but I think just basically improving upon these issues would just be a boon to just the existing infrastructure, just in terms of general traffic flow and just prevention from for any spillover into the Ironbound area as well. So the next one is opportunity zones here. So so the main focus was basically just incentivizing investment that is that will provide jobs that are conducive towards the majority of Newark residents. Involving in transportation, logistics, shipping, warehousing, dock work. Basically employment of that nature and surrounding those industries. And also just the potential for green industry as well, which it is on the table, and just kind of maintaining those industries that are traditional to the area, while also just kind of expanding this industry and making it a priority for the redevelopment plan as a whole. So that was that's pretty much it.
Okay, so I do want to be mindful of, thank you, Tim. That was actually very comprehensive, and I see how some correlation with the previous group. So since we actually recorded each one of the sessions, and we're going to be posting the recording on our project's YouTube page for everyone to kind of know what other groups say, but also in our kind of next meeting when we meet with the public, we're going to summarize all these comments that we've been collecting in this meeting and online and report it back to you. So I want to thank all the facilitators, and I just want to give the floor, Tim, if you want to stop sharing for a second. Thank you. I just want to make sure that give Chris and Pallavi to say any final remarks and closing remarks, or even if Allison wants to do it, so we can close out this meeting. Chris, you're muted. Yeah, hold on, let me unmute you. There you go.
Thank you, Claudia. I just want to say thank you first and foremost to the residents for participating in tonight's meeting. What we've heard from you tonight is that Doremus presents a larger community asset. I heard, you know, we really would like to present a plan, or we should be looking at a plan that presents Doremus as the neighborhood asset, an asset that you should access, an asset that should be look at to provide more robust transportation options. I was delighted to see that one caller was talking about, you know, you should be able to cycle there. I mean, hearing that just in a sense amplify our resolve in terms of pedestrianizing our streets. I heard about environmental resilience and Doremus serving as an opportunity for small business incubation. In terms of environmental resilience, I heard about the need for more trees and more green and beltways. And this is the type of rich feedback we were always hoping for from this type of public meeting. So I want to say thank you for participating and encourage you to continue participating as we plan for a better iteration, not only of Doremus, but of our city as a whole. And I would be remiss if I don't thank my immediate team that are on the call tonight. Pallavi Shinde, who's our supervising planner, has done a heavy lift to get us to this moment. Pallavi, thank you so much. Tim and Matt and Vishnu and Juan, you guys are a tremendous source of encouragement and a tremendous asset to the department. I would like to thank also WRT for what a wonderful work you've done so far. And tonight's meeting was a great example as to how robust we would like to engage in our public and how much your voice is respected by us. And last but not least, thanks Director Ladd for your leadership. Without saying, you know, we would not have been at this moment. So thank you all that have participated tonight, both from our Newark City team, our outside partners, and friends from the neighborhood, and Newark colleagues and friends also. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for your participation, and have a good night. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks, Claudia. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.